A debt of blood must be repaid with blood. Why were the Ying clan and the other clans attacking the Yang clan? Had the Yang clan offended them? No. The true reason was their own interests. The Yang clan was at its weakest state after the internal strife it went through. At this moment, it was the easiest to bully. Of course, there was another reason. The Yang clan had two extraordinary geniuses. If those two extraordinary geniuses were fighting against each other, then they wouldn't have attacked the Yang clan. The problem was that those two extraordinary geniuses weren't fighting and had joined forces instead. They were afraid. They were afraid that Yang Yi and Yang Lianshuang would grow, especially the Ying clan, because it wouldn't be able to maintain its position of overlord in the medium universe if Yang Yi and Yang Lianshuang grew stronger. Fecta Hall. At this moment, only Yang Yi and Yang Lianshuang were in the hall. Yang Lianshuang remained silent for a long time, and then she said, I received news that 70 True Realm experts will be attacking us tomorrow. We won't be able to defend Heaven Void Continent. Yang Yi gazed at her. Shall we die trying? She shook her head. We can't. It won't make a difference, because our strength isn't able to compete with theirs. Yang Yi nodded. Not to mention the Yang clan in its current state. Even if it was the Yang clan in the past, it was still incapable of fighting the 5 clans. Yang Yi gazed at her. Tell me what you think we should do. Since Yang Lianshuang knew that they wouldn't be able to defend the continent, she definitely had other ideas. She replied solemnly, Retreat. Yang Yi shook his head slightly. We may be able to escape, but the others won't. She shook her head. We can. Yang Yi asked, How? She tapped the ground with her foot. There's a teleportation down there. It's linked to a secret place. And it's a place our clan found in secret as a precaution to prevent the clan from being annihilated one day. She paused for a moment and continued. Our Yang clan isn't the only one that has done this. The other clans have similar escape plans. Prepare for danger in times of peace. No clan can thrive forever. When disaster comes, such escape plans are the final hope of a clan. Yang Yi replied, Are you willing to just leave like that? She smiled. It doesn't matter. After all, we'll come back, right? Moreover, it isn't a bad thing for us. Yang Yi asked, Why? She replied, Have you noticed that the Yang clan is even more united than any other moment in history? Moreover, it's an opportunity for us. An opportunity to grow and develop well. Because if we stay in the medium universe of the Milky Way system, the other clans will definitely act against us. But once we go into hiding, we'll be able to grow and develop properly. She gazed at Yang Yi at this point. Let me ask you something. Do you think the 8 clans really are the strongest in the medium universe? Yang Yi frowned slightly. What are you trying to say? Yang Lianshuang chuckled. Many people think that the 8 clans are the strongest powers in the medium universe. But that's not true. There are some mysterious powers, and they aren't weaker to the 8 clans. They may even be stronger. For example, Moment Mountain, or the Secret Sect. The Secret Sect. Yang Ye's expression changed slightly. You know about the Secret Sect? A wisp of surprise flashed through Yang Lianshuang's eyes. You know about the Secret Sect too? Yang Yi nodded. They came looking for me. She asked. They wanted you to join them? Yang Yi shook his head. They wanted you to join them? She nodded slightly. According to my knowledge, I'm not the only one. So long as you have potential and natural talent, they'll come for you. However, they only choose monstrous geniuses with extraordinary natural talent and potential. Yang Yi said, in other words, many geniuses on the Milky Way rankings may have joined the Secret Sect? The Milky Way rankings? A wisp of ridicule curled up on the corners of Yang Lianshuang's mouth. The Milky Way rankings is for children. True experts don't need a ranking to prove themselves. For example, you're not on the rankings. But would anyone dare to say that you're weak? Yang Yi chuckled. For children. If those geniuses heard what you just said, they would probably be angered to the point of spitting out blood. It's a fact. She spoke indifferently. But that fellow ranked at the top of the Milky Way rankings has some ability. Yang Yi asked. The first? You know who it is? Yang Lianshuang nodded. I've met that fellow. He should have joined the secret sect by now. She shook her head at this point and continued, let's stop here. We have to make the best use of our time to send away everyone in Fecta City. Xianxia spoke solemnly. There'll be too much movement. They'll notice what we're doing. Yang Lianshuang replied, I know. So, I need your help. Xianxia asked, what do you mean? She looked up at the sky. Cause trouble. The greater the better. Make them place all their focus on you. You don't have to do it for long. Just 4 hours will be enough. You can leave once 4 hours are up. Xianxia fell silent for a long time, and then he said, leaving represents abandoning everything the Yang clan has. Are you really willing to do that? It's better than letting everyone die. She continued, we still have hope while we're alive. But everything will be meaningless if we're dead. Xianxia nodded. I understand. Leave the rest to me. As soon as he finished speaking, he turned around with the intent to leave. Meanwhile, Yang Lianshuang said, thank you. Xianxia turned around to look at her, and he smiled. When did you become so polite? She shook her head slightly. I wouldn't have been able to manage the entire clan without you. Xianxia smiled. So, how are you going to thank me? Yang Lianshuang chuckled. I've really never given that any thought, because there doesn't seem to be anything in the Yang clan that you would want. Xianxia chuckled. Actually, there's no need to thank me, because I'm a part of the Yang clan now. Moreover, even if I'm not part of the Yang clan, we're still friends. There's no need for words of thanks between friends, right? She gazed at him for a long time before she smiled. I suddenly realized that you're actually really easy to get along with. Xianxia smiled. He didn't say another word and just vanished from the hall. Once Xianxia vanished, the defensive formation around Fecta City was immediately activated. Countless strands of spirit energy shot up into the air. In the end, all of it entered the barrier of light in the sky. At the same time, countless voices resounded from Fecta City. Fight to the death! Fight to the death! At this moment, 70 true realm experts were looking down at the continent from space. Lu Yuntian spoke solemnly as he stood behind Yingqing. Should we attack? Yingqing nodded slightly. He was just about to speak when he suddenly looked towards the distance. Space there trembled slightly, and then Xianxia appeared before them. Xianxia. Their expressions changed slightly when they saw him, and their eyes were filled with vigilance. Even though they had 70 true realm experts on their side, they didn't dare to act carelessly against Xianxia or underestimate him, because no one knew what he was planning. There was vigilance in Yingqing's eyes too. Since Xianxia dared to come here on his own, Xianxia definitely had something to rely on. Or it should be said that Xianxia planned to wreak havoc again. Xianxia glanced at them. Needless to say, he wasn't very confident right now. 70 true realm experts. Not to mention fighting them, just their auras would probably be sufficient to crush him. However, he couldn't shrink back no matter what, because he had to buy time for Yang Lianshuang, the members of the Yang clan, and his loved ones. They were counting on him to evacuate safely. Xianxia took a deep breath, and then he gazed at Yingqing and smiled. Hello, patriarch of the Ying clan. Hello, patriarchs of the various clans. Hello, everyone. All of them felt speechless. Needless to say, they were quite stunned right now. Yingqing stared at Xianxia. Xianxia, what are you up to now? Xianxia chuckled with embarrassment and said, I'm here to discuss something with all of you. I think enmity will never end if enmity is answered with enmity. So, why don't we sit down, have some tea, and forget everything unhappy that has happened between us? All right? They had strange expressions on their faces when they heard him. What is he trying to do? Meanwhile, Yingqing spoke in a low voice. Xianxia, do you think that's possible? Why not? Xianxia hurriedly said, there are no impassable ravines. We can just sit together and laugh off the enmity between us. Yingqing stared at Xianxia. What the heck do you want? Xianxia was about to speak when Lu Yuntan suddenly said, Brother Ying, I think he might be buying time. Everyone's expressions changed slightly when they heard this, and then they looked down at Heaven Void Continent. Right when they were about to think of a certain possibility, Yang Yi suddenly drew his sword, and the sword howl instantly drew their attention back to Yang Yi. Yang Yi pointed his sword at Qing. Since all of you refuse to give us a chance to live, then my Yang clan will take you down with us. Take us down with you? Qing laughed coldly. Yang Yi, do you think the Yang clan's current strength is even capable of doing that? Yang Yi fell silent for a moment and replied, spare us if we surrender, all right? All of them were stunned again. This fellow wants to surrender? Are we hearing things? The insufferably arrogant Yang Yi actually wants to surrender? Suddenly, Lu Yuntian said, he's definitely buying time. Something is happening down there. Qing's eyes narrowed slightly when he heard Lu Yuntian. He didn't waste his breath on Yang Yi and waved his right hand. Patriarchs, fight Yang Yi with me. Everyone else, head down there. Suddenly, Yang Yi tore off the talisman on his right arm, and then the wooden sword appeared in his right hand. He looked up at Qing and the others. It's best if you don't go down there. Qing stared at Yang Yi. What if we insist? Suddenly, Qing and the others' expressions changed, and then the head of a nearby True Realm expert flew up into the air. All of them were shocked by this. Meanwhile, Yang Ye's indifferent voice resounded, why don't you give it a try? Why don't you give it a try? His voice was very soft, but it carried an invisible deterrent force. However, everyone here had abundant experience in life and battle, and there were so many of them. So, how could they possibly be scared by Yang Yi? Suddenly, Qing said, Brother Lu, Brother Wang, Brother Li, and Brother Qin, all four of you come with me and kill this fellow. The rest of you head down immediately. Don't let anyone on Heaven Void continent survive. As soon as he finished speaking, he charged at Yang Yi. At the same time, the other four patriarchs charged at Yang Yi as well, while the remaining True Realm experts shot down towards Heaven Void continent. The war erupted. Yang Yi glanced at the experts who were charging towards Heaven Void continent. At this moment, he couldn't stop them and could only keep the five patriarchs busy. As for the others, he could only hope that Yang Lianshuang had a backup plan. However, he was very confident in her. She was a meticulous woman, so he felt that she definitely considered the possibility of such a situation. Thus, Yang Yi wasn't that worried. Yang Yi restrained his thoughts and gazed at Qing, who led the charge at him. He didn't waste his breath at all and just swung his sword. Bang! An explosion resounded, and Qing was blasted backwards repeatedly. But it only took a moment for Lu Yuntian and the others to surround Yang Yi. A moment later, Yang Yi was pushed over 3 kilometers back. Qing glanced at his palm. It has been sliced into 2. If he hadn't retreated fast enough, his entire body may have been sliced into 2. Strong. Extremely strong. That was his evaluation of Yang Yi. Qing stood there in silence for a moment, and then he took a deep breath and charged at Yang Yi again. If Yang Yi remained alive, the Ying clan's future. The Ying clan may not have a future. Besides the Li clan's patriarch, the other patriarchs were all at the 5th stage of the True Realm. Even though Yang Yi was using the Wargod's arm and the wooden sword, he still wasn't able to gain the upper hand against them, and he even showed signs of being suppressed. It was very normal because they were all experts who'd made a name for themselves a very long time ago. If Yang Yi didn't have the wooden sword and Wargod's arm, and if he hadn't advanced to the True Realm, then he wouldn't be able to fight their joint forces at all. Even then, they couldn't do anything to Yang Yi. At the very least, they couldn't kill him in a short amount of time, because Yang Ye's attacks were truly too terrifying. Not one of them dared to go head-on against his attacks. That was the reason why such a situation had been created. However, they had time to waste, but Yang Yi couldn't. He couldn't endure the Wargod's arm for too long. Meanwhile, over 60 True Realm experts arrived before the formation around Heaven Void continent. Even though the formation was strong, it couldn't resist the joint forces of over 60 True Realm experts. In less than 10 breaths of time, the formation shattered beneath the power of their joint forces. Right when it shattered, countless rays of white light shot up into the air from within the city. These rays of white light instantly enveloped the True Realm experts in the sky. However, it didn't take long for all the rays of light to be obliterated. All formations were useless before absolute strength. Summon our ancestor. Suddenly, a voice resounded from within Fecta City. It was Yang Lianshuang's voice. As soon as she gave the order, the space throughout the sky above Fecta City started to tremble lightly, and the frequency of trembling grew faster and faster. After that, a huge round platform made of energy appeared in the sky above Fecta City. At the same time, countless pillars of spirit energy shot up into the air and surged into the energy platform. Waves of terrifying aura gradually started to seep out from the platform. Ancestor summoning. Everyone here stopped fighting, including Yingqing and the others. All of them had quite solemn expressions on their faces as they gazed at the huge energy platform. Summoning their founding ancestor could be considered the final trump card of every clan, and it was their strongest trump card. The founding ancestor of every clan was an extraordinary genius, and it was naturally not that easy for such extraordinary geniuses to die. Or it should be said that most of them had surpassed the 6th stage of the true realm and arrived at a higher realm of cultivation. When they leave the medium universe, they usually leave behind a form of protection for their own clans. It may be their clone or a strand of their soul. Even though it was just a strand of their soul or a clone, one couldn't be careless when facing them, because they were from existences who had surpassed the 6th stage of the true realm. Moreover, they weren't just existences who had surpassed the 6th stage of the true realm. Every single one of them had been a monstrous genius, so their strengths couldn't be judged by convention at all. An ethereal figure gradually appeared on the platform. An old man in red robes. The old man's hair was crimson red, and there was a strange red symbol between his brows. The Yang clan's founding ancestor. Once the red-robed old man appeared there, everyone noticed that the space here started to tremble. It seemed like it was enduring some sort of terrifying force, and it was an extremely shocking sight. Yingqing and the others had solemn expressions on their faces when they witnessed this scene. The old man glanced at the surroundings, and there was a trace of bewilderment in his eyes. But it only took a while for his gaze to gradually become clear. In the end, his face fell. Who's the current patriarch? In just a moment, Yang Lianshuang was standing before the red-robed old man. She bowed slightly to him and said, "Ancestor." She spoke in a neither humble or proud manner. The red-robed old man's face fell. "You're my Yang clan's current patriarch?" Yang Lianshuang nodded. "Yes." The old man looked her in the eyes. "I said that no woman is to be the patriarch. Who let you take this position?" Yang Lianshuang spoke indifferently. "I did." The old man asked, "Who dared to allow it?" Yang Lianshuang looked the red-robed old man in the eyes. "Those who objected are dead." The red-robed old man gazed at her for a long time. In the end, he spoke in a low voice. "You are an extraordinary genius." Yang Lianshuang glanced at the surroundings and said, "Ancestor, it's meaningless to be conflicted about that right now. While the Yang clan is in a hopeless situation right now, it won't truly die while Yang Yi and I are still alive. There'll be a day when it rises up again." The red-robed old man frowned. "Yang Yi?" Yang Lianshuang pointed at Yang Yi. "Him." The old man's gaze descended onto Yang Yi, and then his frown deepened when he saw Yang Yi. He stared at Yang Yi for a long time. In the end, he shook his head. "I see now." Yang Yi glanced at the old man. "What do you mean?" The old man took a deep and long glance at Yang Yi but didn't say a thing. He turned to look at Yang Lianshuang. "I knew that my Yang clan would face tribulation because of a woman, so I left a rule that prohibited a woman from being the patriarch. But I never expected that tribulation to still arrive." As he spoke, he looked up at Yingqing and the others, almost 70 true realm experts. Such extravagance. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly stretched out his right hand and waved it. Hiss! 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 In an instant, 10 true realm experts were suddenly split into 2. The expressions of everyone here changed drastically, including Yang Yi and Yang Lianshuang, because even they hadn't been able to see how those experts had been killed. Meanwhile, the intent to retreat had arisen in the hearts of Yingqing and the others. Suddenly, the 6th stage true realm expert from the Ying clan, Yu, appeared here. He gazed at the red-robed old man and said, "He won't be able to launch many more attacks." At the same time, the red-robed old man waved his hand again. Hiss! 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 The bodies of 10 more true realm experts were instantly split apart again. However, the old man's body grew slightly more ethereal. Yu stared at the old man. "Go on." The old man nodded slightly, and he waved his right hand again. This wave caused the bodies of 10 more true realm experts by Yu's side to be instantly split apart. At this moment, all the true realm experts here felt fearful. No, it should be called terror. True terror. The old man's strength was too terrifying. It wasn't something they could resist at all. At this moment, all of them had the desire to retreat. Yu said, "Can you attack again?" It wasn't that he didn't want to stop the old man, it was that he couldn't. Moreover, he couldn't flee, because fleeing would still equal death. Fortunately, he knew that the old man couldn't attack many times as he'd been there when the Ku clan's ancestor was summoned all those years ago. The Ku clan's ancestor had merely been able to attack 3 times. After all, it wasn't his real body. The red-robed old man didn't launch another attack, and he just gazed at Yang Lianshuang. "Remember this. Descendants of the Yang clan can die, but they can't lose their backbone." Yang Lianshuang bowed respectfully to the old man. "Farewell, ancestor." Yu and the others heaved sighs of relief when they witnessed this scene. Because if the old man could still attack, then they would really have to flee. Fortunately, the old man couldn't launch another attack. The red-robed old man's body grew increasingly ethereal. Right when he was about to vanish completely, he suddenly gazed at Yang Yi. He didn't say anything and just gazed at Yang Yi with a trace of bewilderment and disbelief in his eyes. Needless to say, Yang Yi felt a chill run down his spine while the Yang clan's founding ancestor stared at him like that. It was because the gaze the old man shot at him before vanishing was truly too strange. Yang Ye's intuition told him that the old man seemed to recognize him. However, how could the old man recognize him? "Yang Yi." Suddenly, Qing spoke ferociously. "Do you have other tricks left?" Even though the Yang clan had been forced to summon its ancestor and had killed 30 of them, it wasn't that painful if it was spread amongst the 5 clans. Yet now, the Yang clan should be out of trump cards. Yang Yi paid no attention to Qing. He gazed at Yang Lianshuang, and the latter nodded slightly. "They've all evacuated. Let's go." Yang Yi nodded, and then he turned to look at Qing. "Let's play again next time. Bye." His figure vanished on the spot while Yang Lianshuang transformed into a ray of black light that vanished as well. They didn't flee together and had split up. It was because the target on their backs would be too huge if they fled together. But if they fled separately, they could split up the forces of the enemy. Each of them would have to face around 20 true realm experts, and that wasn't very difficult for Yang Yi or Yang Lianshuang. But if they had to face 40 true realm experts together, it would be very difficult. Everyone here was stunned when they saw Yang Yi and Yang Lianshuang flee. Are they abandoning Heaven Void Continent? It only took a moment for them to scan the continent with their divine sense, and then their expressions instantly turned extremely unsightly. The entire continent was empty. They'd fled. All of the experts here had extremely unsightly expressions on their faces. Their goal wasn't just to obtain the worlds which belonged to the Yang clan, they wanted to annihilate the Yang clan, because that was the only way to put an end to all future troubles. Yet now, the Yang clan had actually abandoned Heaven Void Continent and fled. They'd fled. Qing took a deep breath and looked towards the distance. "Chase them. Chase after Yang Yi," Lu Yuntian asked. "Then what about Yang Lianshuang?" Qing shook his head. "Ignore her and just chase after Yang Yi." He vanished into space once he finished speaking. He naturally understood what Yang Yi and Yang Lianshuang were planning. If they split their forces, it was very likely for Yang Yi and Yang Lianshuang to be able to kill some of their forces instead. So they couldn't split up. Only by gathering their strength did they have the chance to kill Yang Yi or Yang Lianshuang. So he'd chosen Yang Yi as their target. As for the reason, it was naturally because of what Yang Yi had done at Heaven Desolation Continent. Just like that, around 40 true realm experts chased after Yang Yi. Once everyone left, Yu and Xianxia appeared in the sky above the continent. Yu said, "I didn't expect your patriarch to be that decisive and abandon both Heaven-Void continent and all the other worlds that belong to the Yang clan." Xianxia nodded slightly. "Even I didn't expect that. But it's needless to say that she's much more capable than that fellow, Xiao." Yu nodded. "Indeed. After she became the patriarch, she hasn't just been able to make the Yang clan more united. She even drew over someone like Yang Yi. The heavens are really good to your Yang clan." It wasn't that he hadn't wanted to stop Yang Yi and Yang Lianshuang just now. He couldn't, because Yang Xiu wouldn't allow him to do that. Once Yang Xiu acted against him, he would have no choice but to become locked in battle. After all, battles between experts of their levels couldn't be decided in just a day or two. So, he didn't do anything as it was meaningless. Yang Xiu smiled. "It doesn't matter no matter how good the heavens are to my Yang clan. It's because all of you won't allow those two little fellows to grow. Try putting yourself in our shoes." Yu continued, "If two geniuses like them appeared in my Ing clan, the other clans will join forces against my clan as well. Right?" "True." Yang Xiu chuckled. "All right, brother Yu. Since it has already come to this, let's just stop wasting our breath. Let's meet again if we have the chance." His figure shook and vanished on the spot. Yu looked towards the direction Yang Yi had gone in. He wanted to chase after Yang Yi, but he was very well aware that so long as he tried to do that, Yang Xiu would definitely stop him. Similarly, if Yang Xiu went to save Yang Yi, he would stop Yang Xiu as well. They were restraining each other. It didn't take long for the news to spread through the medium universe. One of the 8 clans, the Yang clan, had vanished from the world. Now, there were only 7 great clans in the medium universe. However, everyone knew that Yang Yi and Yang Lianshuang were alive, so many felt that the Yang clan still had hope. Of course, the precondition was that the Ing clan and the other clans didn't hunt down and kill them. Would the Ing clan and those other clans give up on hunting Yang Yi and Yang Lianshuang? It was obviously impossible. It could be said that if they couldn't kill Yang Yi and Yang Lianshuang now, then once a few years pass, they would have to tremble before Yang Yi and Yang Lianshuang. So, even though they seemed to have won the battle, so long as Yang Yi and Yang Lianshuang remained alive, then they wouldn't even be able to sleep in peace. At an unnamed expanse of space, a ray of light flashed swiftly. Space was instantly torn open in its wake, clearly showing how swift it was. It was naturally Yang Yi. Presently, he'd raised his speed to its limits. At this moment, Yang Yi was absolutely unhappy. He'd suggested that they split apart to disperse the forces of the Ing clan and those other clans. In that way, they could fight while running, and they would be entirely capable of killing a few true realm experts. But he hadn't expected them to actually disregard Yang Lianshuang and pursue him. When he found out that 40 true realm experts were chasing after him, he felt like cursing the entire world. Run. Run with all his might. That was what he had to do right now. After all, once they caught up to him, he would definitely suffer miserably. While he was very confident, he wasn't confident enough to fight 40 true realm experts on his own. However, Ing Qing and the others clearly refused to let him go, and they followed closely behind like cancer. Ing Qing and the others were 5th stage true realm experts, so while they were slightly slower than Yang Yi, they weren't much slower. So Yang Yi couldn't get rid of them at all. He could instantly leave them behind if he used split second to flee. But what would he do after that? It wasn't a problem to use split second once or twice, but if he used it more, he would be exhausted before they could even catch up. So, he had a problem. What to do? Yang Yi was really annoyed, because he didn't have any way out of this situation. Ing Qing and the others clearly intended to pursue him to the ends of the world. Moreover, he couldn't hold on for long because he'd used the Wargod's arm in battle earlier. While he'd sealed it again, its energy had caused him to feel exhausted. So, if this continued, it was only a matter of time before they caught up. Bang! Around 15 minutes later, a wave of terrifying aura appeared in space, and then Xianxia appeared in front of Yang Yi. Xianxia said, "Get on." Yang Yi was stunned, and then he sat on Xianxia's back. The latter flapped his wings and transformed into a ray of black light that vanished into the boundless depths of space. Yingqing and the others didn't stop chasing Yang Yi. Lu Yuntian spoke in a low voice as he traveled by Yingqing's side. That demon beast is fast. We have to chase them no matter what. Yingqing spoke fiercely. Everyone, order all your clans to dispatch all your experts. Besides that, issue a bounty in the medium universe. Anyone who kills Yang Yi or helps us kill Yang Yi, we'll give them 20 small worlds and 5 medium worlds. Besides that, we'll reward them with 10 true rank treasures and 10 true rank cultivation techniques. Furthermore, our clans will fulfill one request for that person. All of them were shocked, and Lu Yuntian asked, "Isn't that too much?" 20 small worlds wasn't a big deal, but the true rank treasures and 5 medium worlds hurt quite a bit. Yingqing glanced at them and said, "If he remains alive, then we'll have to pay an even larger price." Lu Yuntian and the others hesitated when they heard this, because Yingqing was right. If Yang Yi didn't die, they would definitely have to pay an even more painful price. Just like that, they dispatched even more experts to pursue Yang Yi. Besides that, some others participated as well. The rewards promised by the 5 clans was extremely enticing. So while they knew it was extremely difficult to kill Yang Yi, many of them still participated. After all, they could join forces with the experts of the 5 clans if they participated now. If they were made to kill Yang Yi on their own, they wouldn't do it even if the rewards were multiplied by 10. But it wasn't the same now. Now, there were many experts who joined forces to hunt and kill Yang Yi. There was strength in numbers, and there was courage in numbers too. At this moment, Yang Yi wasn't the only one who was annoyed. Xianxia was annoyed too, because more and more were hunting them down. Most importantly, the information networks of all 5 clans were being used to pursue them, while Yingqing's group chased after them without letting up at all. So they had no time to rest. They couldn't fight. At the very least, they couldn't fight now, because when they tried to fight, the others would gang up on them. Xianxia suddenly said, "Kid, hurry up and think of a way out of this. Even I'll be tired to death if this continues. A way out of this." Yang Yi pondered deeply for a long time. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. "I've got it." He withdrew a scroll while he spoke. It was the teleportation scroll which the mysterious woman from the secret sect had given to him. Presently, he had nowhere else to go in the medium universe, so he could only go to the secret sect. Yang Yi didn't hesitate to crush the scroll, and then a ray of blue light instantly enveloped both Yang Yi and Xianxia. An instant later, they vanished on the spot. 2 breaths of time later, Yingqing's group appeared where they vanished. Yingqing closed his eyes slightly. In an instant, the space in the surroundings started rippling slightly. A short while passed before he opened his eyes again. He fled with a teleportation scroll. There's a trace of its aura left in space. "Come with me." As soon as he finished speaking, he entered into the space before him. At an unknown mountainside, Yang Yi had just opened his eyes when a young man appeared before him. The young man said, "Announce yourself." Yang Yi blinked and spoke angrily. "I'm the Ying clan's successor, Yingqing Dai. I'm here today to crush the secret sect. Come and receive death. If you dare to object, I'll obliterate all of you in an instant." As soon as Yang Yi finished speaking, he stomped his right foot down. In an instant, the surroundings started to collapse and crack open. However, he'd vanished instead. 2 breaths of time later, Yingqing and the others appeared where Yang Yi had been standing. The young man was quite stunned when Yang Yi made the surrounding mountains collapse, and his expression changed when he saw Yingqing's group. 40 true realm experts. Such a force was extremely terrifying. Yingqing was just about to speak when the young man suddenly crushed a transmission talisman. In an instant, the sky shook violently. Yingqing and the others were quite stunned. What's he doing? Suddenly, they frowned because the sky started to tremble once more, and then over a dozen figures appeared here. All of them were true realm experts. The group was led by a black-robed old man, and the old man was a 5th-stage true realm expert. Besides that, all the others behind him were 4th-stage true realm experts. Moreover, their auras were exceptionally powerful. Qing and the others' faces fell when they saw this group of people. As for the black-robed old man's group, their faces similarly fell upon catching sight of Qing's group. Obviously, they hadn't expected so many experts to appear here. The atmosphere here instantly became tense. The black-robed old man gazed at the young man. "What's going on?" The young man moved over to the black-robed old man's side and said, "Elder Su, someone suddenly appeared here just now. He said he's a member of the Ying clan, and he's here to crush our secret sect. Besides that, he asked us to come and receive death from him, and he'll instantly obliterate us if we dare to object." The black-robed old man and the others' faces turned gloomy when they heard this. Meanwhile, Qing and the others' faces turned gloomy too. Yang Yi had led them into a trap. Qing was about to speak when the black-robed old man suddenly gazed at Qing and said, "May I know which of the 8 clans do all of you represent? Or perhaps all 8 clans are here?" Qing replied, "I'm the Ying clan's patriarch, Qing. These are the patriarchs of the Li clan, Qin clan, Wang clan, and Lu clan. We're not here to attack the secret sect, and we're merely here to hunt and kill that man who this young brother met just now." As the patriarch of the Ying clan, Qing naturally knew a little about the secret sect. It was a comparatively mysterious sect. Of course, the Ying clan didn't fear it, but he wasn't foolish enough to intentionally become enemies with the secret sect, because that was exactly what Yang Yi wanted, and it didn't benefit the Ying clan at all. The black-robed old man and the others' faces eased up slightly when they heard Qing. Even though the secret sect was strong, it didn't want to become enemies with so many clans. Similarly, it didn't benefit them at all. Meanwhile, Qing said, "Everyone, we're only here to find Yang Yi, and Yang Yi has snuck into your secret sect. So, please allow us to enter and search for him. We'll leave once we find him." "No!" The black-robed old man suddenly said, "The secret sect doesn't welcome outsiders, so you can't enter." Qing and the others' faces instantly became quite unsightly. Qing said, "What if we insist?" This time, he wanted to uncover the veil over the secret sect and see its true strength. The black-robed old man spoke coldly in response, "Why don't you try?" Qing was about to speak when the black-robed old man suddenly waved his right hand. In an instant, the ground shook violently, and then a huge circle of light appeared beneath everyone. A formation. It was clearly extremely powerful, and it covered a huge area. At the same time, numerous powerful auras suddenly appeared within the boundless mountain range, and then 3 old men appeared by the black-robed old man's side. All of them were at the True Realm, and they were even 5th stage True Realm experts. For 5th stage True Realm experts, needless to say, the experts from the 5 clans were shocked upon witnessing such a force. Even though 5th stage True Realm experts weren't as rare as 6th stage True Realm experts, they were extremely rare in the medium universe. But the secret sect actually had 4 of them. The secret sect's strength shocked them. However, the Ying clan and the others clearly couldn't back down right now. If they did, the entire medium universe would say that they were afraid of the secret sect. They couldn't afford to lose face like that. Qing looked the black-robed old man in the eyes and said, "Does the secret sect intend to fight our clans?" The black-robed old man spoke indifferently. "My secret sect doesn't interfere in the affairs of the outside world. However, not anyone can just try to bully us. Everyone, my secret sect doesn't want to interfere in your business with that fellow you spoke of, Yang Yi. Deal with your own business on your own." Qing spoke solemnly, "But he's in your secret sect." The black-robed old man frowned. He gazed at the young man. "How did he get here?" The young man thought for a moment and replied, "Teleportation. It was our teleportation scroll." The old man's frown deepened. He gazed at an old man in a luxurious robe. "Have we recruited anyone lately?" The old man shook his head in response. "No. I heard about him and I intended to test him. However, I haven't gone yet. So, how could he possibly possess a teleportation scroll from our secret sect?" The old man frowned. "Then how did he get here?" Qing suddenly said, "Everyone, Yang Yi is our sole target. So long as we find him, we'll leave immediately. Or perhaps the secret sect can drive him out. And then we'll deal with it ourselves outside the secret sect. As far as he was concerned, the most important matter at hand was to deal with Yang Yi. If conflict arose between them and the secret sect, then it would become even more troublesome for them. So he wasn't being very aggressive. The black-robed old man fell silent. He similarly didn't want conflict to arise between them. A short while passed before he flew up into the air, and he said, "Yang Yi, no matter how you entered my secret sect, you're not welcome here. So, please leave." "Leave?" Yang Yi shook his head while he hid in the shadows. He would never leave. Even though that was quite shameless, he had no other choice. Because going out there was no different than accepting death. The old man's face turned gloomy when he received no response. Meanwhile, Qing suddenly said, "That won't work on him. He's shameless and extremely crafty. We have to use force to flush him out." The old man glanced at Qing, and then he glanced at the surroundings. In an instant, everything in a huge area appeared within his divine sense. However, he didn't notice Yang Yi. Qing said, "Don't waste your energy. His skill in concealment is something even 6th-stage true realm experts would find difficult to see through. The only way to force him to show himself is to search every corner of your secret sect." The black-robed old man suddenly looked at Qing. "I have a question. What realm of cultivation is he in?" "The true realm." Qing spoke in a low voice. He knew Yang Yi was at the true realm because Yu told him. The old man asked, "Which stage?" Qing replied, "The 1st stage." The black-robed old man was astounded. 40 true realm experts were pursuing a 1st-stage true realm cultivator. And you actually let him get away. The others behind the black-robed old man gazed at Qing's group with strange gazes as well. Qing and the others' faces instantly became unsightly when they heard this. It was an extremely embarrassing fact. Meanwhile, Lu Yuntian said, "We have to admit that using such a force to hunt him down is quite embarrassing. However, you won't think the same way if you know how terrifying he is." "Is that so?" The black-robed old man's tone was very indifferent. Obviously, he felt that Lu Yuntian was making up excuses. He'd seen many geniuses, but he'd never seen a genius capable of fighting dozens at once. How monstrous is that fellow Yang Yi? Meanwhile, Qing shook his head. "Let's not waste more time. Our objective is very clear. Either allow us to go inside the secret sect and search for him or drive him out for us and we'll deal with him ourselves. I think that even your secret sect doesn't want to become enemies with us for someone who isn't even linked to your secret sect. Right? The secret sect would naturally not become enemies with the Ing clan's coalition for Yang Ye's sake. Moreover, Yang Yi had entered the secret sect without permission, and that was against the secret sect's rules." The black-robed old man glanced at the surroundings and said, "Notify the secret guard to find him." It didn't take long for all the experts behind him to leave, and then countless powerful auras appeared throughout the boundless mountain range. They were searching every inch of the area. Qing and the others exchanged glances but didn't say anything. Since the secret sect had made its stand clear, they naturally wouldn't be pushy. Moreover, the secret sect clearly didn't want Yang Yi in their territory. So, all they had to do was wait until Yang Yi appeared. The black-robed old man glanced at Qing's group and said, "I'm quite curious. What did Yang Yi do to make all of you send such a force to pursue and kill him? What did Yang Yi do?" Qing and the others didn't answer the old man. Could they say that Yang Yi had gone to the Ing clan on his own and then destroyed the Ing clan's main city? That was an embarrassment for the Ing clan, and Qing didn't want to mention it again. The black-robed old man didn't ask again when he received no reply. He just gazed at the old man in a luxurious robe. "Go investigate." The old man nodded slightly and vanished on the spot. In the boundless mountain range, Yang Yi hid himself in a natural cave. During this period, many divine senses had swept by, but they didn't notice him. A cold smile curled up on the corners of Yang Ye's mouth. "I lose if you can find me. Stop hiding. I know you're in there." Suddenly, a voice resounded within the cave. Yang Yi was at a loss for words. The voice was quite familiar to Yang Yi, and it didn't take long for him to figure out who it belonged to. It was that woman in a white dress who had given him the teleportation scroll outside Sword Immortal City. But how did she find me? Yang Yi didn't think too much about it and just walked out of the cave. There was a woman standing at the cave's entrance, and it was the woman in a white dress. Yang Yi asked, "How did you find me?" Suddenly, a ray of white light flashed, and then Snowy appeared before him with the wooden sword in her grasp. Snowy pointed at the wooden sword. The wooden sword did it. Yang Yi glanced at the wooden sword. He hadn't expected it to reveal his location to the woman. Meanwhile, she suddenly asked, "What's the meaning of this?" Yang Yi was puzzled. "What do you mean?" She replied coldly. "The Ying clan and those other clans outside." Yang Yi said, "They were pursuing me." She asked, "So you came to the secret sect?" Yang Yi nodded. She looked him in the eyes. "Do you want the secret sect to fight with them, and then benefit from it?" Yang Yi shook his head. "No, that's not my intention. I just didn't have a place to go. Of course, if the secret sect doesn't want me here, then I can leave right now. I wasn't a fool." So, he would naturally not think that he could make the secret sect fight those 5 clans for him. After all, the higher-ups of the secret sect and those clans were no fools. If they hadn't noticed his presence, then he would naturally not leave. At the very least, he wouldn't leave right now. Yet now, she'd found him, so staying here would be no different than intentionally creating trouble for them. He didn't want the secret sect to become an enemy of his as well. Yang Yi didn't hesitate to turn around and walk away. "Wait!" Suddenly, she said, "You can leave, but leave the sword behind." Yang Yi gazed at the wooden sword, and then he tossed it over to her. Snowy blinked and was about to take it back, but Yang Yi suddenly stopped her. "Leave it!" He really didn't want the wooden sword anymore. It had actually exposed his whereabouts. Fortunately, the woman didn't have any ill intent. Otherwise, he would probably be surrounded by a few dozen true realm experts by now. Snowy instantly seemed sad when she heard Yang Yi, and her eyes were even filled with pearls of tears. Yang Yi released her and said, "Go stay with it then." Yang Yi turned around and walked away once he finished speaking. Snowy was stunned for a moment, and then she seemed to have understood something. Her tears instantly surged out from her eyes. She immediately flashed over to Yang Yi, grabbed his arm tightly, and then looked at him with a pitiable gaze. Yang Ye's heart hurt when he saw her like that, and his expression eased up. "It's not one of us, so leave it, all right?" Snowy hurriedly nodded. This time, she didn't dare to be mischievous. Yang Yi rubbed her head gently and said, "I'll find a better sword for you." As soon as he finished speaking, he took her in his arms and intended to leave. However, the wooden sword suddenly appeared in front of him, and then it transformed into a ray of light that entered the primordial pagoda. Yang Yi had an indifferent expression on his face as he immersed his consciousness into his body, and he said, "Kick it out!" The primordial pagoda shook violently, and then a wave of powerful energy instantly enveloped the wooden sword within the pagoda. The wooden sword didn't just stand by idly, and it resisted the primordial pagoda. Rays of sword energy flashed out incessantly from within it. Yang Ye's eyelids twitched. It's really brave. It even dares to resist the primordial pagoda. Obviously, the primordial pagoda was infuriated by this. A wave of energy that was even stronger than the last one enveloped the wooden sword, and the rays of sword energy were instantly obliterated. A moment later, a ray of light flashed out from Yang Ye's chest, and the wooden sword appeared 3 kilometers away. It had been kicked out. The wooden sword shook slightly, and then it transformed into a ray of light that entered Yang Ye's body. However, not even half a breath of time passed before it was kicked out again. Just like that, the wooden sword kept trying to enter the primordial pagoda but failed to do so. In the end, it gave up. It went over to Yang Yi. Or to be more precise, it went over to Snowy. The latter glanced at the wooden sword before looking away. Meanwhile, Yang Yi said, "I don't care what kind of sword you are. You have your own temper, and I understand that. After all, everyone with strength has a temper. But what I want to tell you is that I have a temper of my own. Since we can't get along with each other, then let's go our separate ways. Xianxia turned around and walked away once he finished speaking. He was really displeased by the fact that the wooden sword had exposed his whereabouts. It wouldn't be a problem if the wooden sword had asked his permission, but it hadn't. It has exposed his whereabouts to the woman without his consent. If the woman in a white dress notified the secret sect and the Ing clan's coalition, then it was obvious what would happen. Most importantly, this incident allowed him to realize that the wooden sword really wasn't on the same side as him. However, Xianxia hadn't even taken 2 steps away when the wooden sword appeared in front of him again. Xianxia frowned. Meanwhile, the woman in a white dress spoke abruptly. It didn't have any ill intent when it exposed your whereabouts. It was because it thought you were here to see me. Xianxia shook his head. It isn't important. He gazed at the wooden sword and continued. No matter what, we've worked together on many occasions, so let's just part ways peacefully. The wooden sword shook slightly and seemed to be saying something. The woman's expression changed when she witnessed this scene, and her eyes had a trace of disbelief in them. She knew what the wooden sword was saying. It was actually admitting its mistakes. Moreover, it was guaranteeing that it would absolutely not expose his whereabouts again unless it gained his permission. It's admitting its mistakes. She stared at Xianxia as if she wanted to see through him. Xianxia naturally understood what the wooden sword meant. He hadn't expected it to actually admit its mistakes because it was extremely proud, and that was obvious from how it dared to fight the primordial pagoda just now. But it was admitting its mistakes now. Xianxia knew that a huge reason for that was definitely Snowy and the primordial pagoda. The wooden sword was very close to Snowy. Snowy didn't want to leave it, and it didn't want to leave Snowy. Xianxia looked down at Snowy, and she was looking up at him. She blinked and wanted to say something, but she didn't say anything in the end. However, how could Xianxia not know what she was thinking? She wanted to plead on behalf of the wooden sword, but she was afraid that he would get angry. Xianxia rubbed her head gently and said, "As long as you like it." Snowy blinked when she heard him, and then her eyes lit up. She'd clearly understood what he meant. So, she pulled the wooden sword over to her, but the smile on her face vanished. She pointed her little claw at it, and then started to wave about the other claw while a serious expression covered her tiny face. Snowy was educating the wooden sword. The gist of it was that the wooden sword shouldn't offend Xianxia again or tell anyone where Xianxia and her were. The wooden sword had no objections towards Snowy's requests, and it agreed to every one of them. Of course, it actually didn't really understand everything. It wasn't the only one which didn't understand. Even Snowy didn't really understand. In any case, she just didn't want it to make Xianxia angry because Xianxia was extremely terrifying when he was angry. In the end, Snowy happily returned to the primordial pagoda with the wooden sword in her arms. This time, the primordial pagoda didn't stop the wooden sword from entering. Xianxia didn't stay a moment longer, and he immediately turned around and walked away. But he'd only taken 2 steps when he seemed to have thought of something, and he turned to look at the woman. "I'm not trying to keep it, it chose to stay with me. So, I hope you understand." The woman in a white dress fell silent. What could she do? Did the wooden sword belong to the secret sect? Not really. It would be fine if the wooden sword chose her, but it wanted to go with Xianxia. So, if she forced Xianxia to hand it over, she would be bullying him. But the fellow before her wasn't that easy to bully. Xianxia didn't say another word. He just turned around and walked away. However, the woman suddenly spoke. "I'll take you to the secret sect." Xianxia turned to look at her and she said, "You won't be able to leave. The formation has been activated and countless experts are guarding the area. Even the slightest movement will be noticed by them." Xianxia said, "Going to the secret sect with you will cause trouble for all of you." She replied, "We can deal with it. Come with me." She vanished on the spot. Xianxia shrugged and quickly followed after her. It didn't take long for them to arrive before a mountain that towered into the clouds. Xianxia asked, "The secret sect is up there?" She nodded slightly and then gazed at Xianxia. "Stay here for now. I'll go tell them that you've left the secret sect. Xianxia asked, will they believe you? She replied indifferently, they have to even if they don't want to. As soon as she finished speaking, she turned around with the intent to leave. But she seemed to have thought of something and turned back to look at Xianxia. Stay here and don't go anywhere. Your presence here can't be exposed yet, because no one in my secret sect knows you. If you're found, no one will be able to help you. Xianxia nodded. All right, I won't go anywhere. She nodded and vanished on the spot. After she left, Xianxia glanced at the surroundings and hid in a corner. Around 15 minutes later, a ray of white light suddenly floated through the sky. Xianxia looked up at it, and then the ray of light suddenly stopped and descended before Xianxia. Xianxia was stunned when he saw the person before him, and he said, it's you. It was a woman. Xianxia recognized her because it was the woman in a white dress who'd left just now. However, she wasn't wearing a white dress but a black dress. Moreover, her bearing wasn't quite similar. She gazed coldly at Xianxia. Who are you? Xianxia glanced at her and said, you're not her. At this moment, Xianxia noticed that this woman in a black dress and the woman in a white dress weren't quite the same. Moreover, if they were the same person, then how could she not recognize him? The woman frowned. You know her. Xianxia thought for a moment and said, she brought me here and asked me to wait here for us. She brought you here? The woman in a black dress's frown deepened. Who are you? Why did she bring you in here? Xianxia shrugged. Why don't you wait for her and ask her yourself? The woman sized up Xianxia and said, you're that fellow Xianxia who trespassed into my secret sect. Xianxia slowly clenched his left fist. Meanwhile, she said, I never expected her to collude with outsiders. How truly. Suddenly, her voice stopped abruptly while her expression changed. It was because a sword had arrived before her forehead, and it was absolutely fast. Xianxia had no intention to kill, and he merely wanted to restrain her. However, he'd underestimated her strength. She'd vanished on the spot when his sword was still a few inches away from her forehead. At the same time, a black lotus appeared in front of Xianxia. A moment later, the black lotus exploded, and countless black petals enveloped Xianxia. However, it only took an instant for the black petals to vanish. Xianxia didn't launch another attack because she'd created distance between them. So, restraining her with a single move was clearly impossible. But if he couldn't accomplish that and entered into a battle with her, then the commotion created would be too alarming. But the woman clearly refused to let the matter rest, and she was about to attack. However, Xianxia suddenly withdrew the wooden sword, and she was instantly stunned upon laying eyes on it. She stared at Xianxia. What's it doing in your possession? Xianxia spoke indifferently. Just ask her when she gets back. The woman was quite displeased when Xianxia refused to answer her, but she didn't attack again. Obviously, it was because of the wooden sword. So they entered into a stalemate. Meanwhile, Yingqing and the others had extremely gloomy expressions on their faces as they stood there near a mountain range. It was because the members of the secret sect said that Xianxia had left the secret sect. They naturally didn't believe it, and they wanted to go in and search, but the secret sect insisted on refusing their request. So, the atmosphere here became tense again. If they searched by force, it represented that they may enter into war with the secret sect. Even though they didn't know how strong the secret sect really was, the joint forces of their 5 clans didn't have to fear it at all. However, the secret sect didn't fear them either. After all, this was the secret sect's territory. A long moment of silence later, Yingqing suddenly gazed at the black-robed old man. Since he has left, then we won't bother you anymore. Farewell. Yingqing led the others with him as he vanished on the spot. One of the old men by the black-robed old man's side spoke solemnly. They won't give up. The black-robed old man fell silent for a few breaths of time, and then he gazed at the woman in a white dress who stood by his side. Yun Qian, is that sword really in Xianxia's possession? She nodded. It is. Moreover, while it hasn't acknowledged him as its master, it isn't willing to leave his side. The black-robed old man spoke in a low voice. Come, let's go meet him. He vanished with the others once he finished speaking. Outside the secret sect, Lu Yuntian spoke solemnly. Brother Ing, Yang Yi possessed the secret sect's teleportation formation. So there's definitely a link between him and the secret sect. Moreover, he's definitely still in there. Ing Qing nodded. I know, but do you want us to fight the secret sect? Even though we don't have to fear them, we gain nothing from fighting them. Moreover, our clans need time to rest and recuperate. Lu Yuntian asked. Then what about Yang Yi? Ing Qing fell silent for a long time, and then he said, send some forces to watch the area outside the secret sect. He can't stay there forever. Besides that, gather the resources of our clans and search for Yang Lianshuang and the survivors of the Yang clan. Lu Yuntian spoke solemnly. Are we really going to ignore Yang Yi? Ing Qing replied, I'll ask my Ing clan's ancestor to talk with the secret sect's higher-ups and see if we're able to make the secret sect hand Yang Yi over. If they refuse, then we'll have no choice but to think of something else. All right, it's decided. Ing Qing seemed like he'd grown many years older in an instant. Ing Qing wasn't the only one like that. The others had quite unsightly expressions on their faces too. They were helpless against Yang Yi for now. But once Yang Yi grew further, they could imagine what sort of revenge their clans would have to face. In a short time from now, Yang Yi may become their nightmares. The secret sect. At this moment, Yang Yi was still in confrontation with the woman in a black dress. But they weren't fighting. Not too long passed before the black-robed old man and the woman in a white dress appeared not too far away from Yang Yi. Yang Yi glanced at the woman in a white dress, and then glanced at the woman in a black dress. Needless to say, they were definitely twins, because they looked too much like each other. If it wasn't for their clothes, it would be impossible to differentiate between them. Yun Qian glanced at the woman in a black dress and frowned slightly. It's you! The woman in a black dress glanced coldly at Yun Qian, and then she vanished on the spot. Meanwhile, the black-robed old man gazed at Yang Yi, or to be more precise, he was looking at the wooden sword in Yang Ye's grasp. He gazed at the wooden sword for a long time. In the end, he gazed at Yang Yi. I don't care what kind of enmity you have with the Ing clan and those other clans. My secret sect can give you protection, but you have to work with my secret sect and obey my secret sect's commands. Yang Yi was stunned upon hearing this, and then he shook his head and chuckled. Old man, I think you've made a mistake. I don't need your secret sect's protection, and I don't need charity from others. I came here to fulfill my promise, not to seek protection from your secret sect. The old man looked Yang Yi in the eyes. You're very stubborn. Leave then. Right, the Ing clan and those other clans are still outside. Obviously, he was certain that Yang Yi wouldn't dare to leave. However, would Yang Yi be afraid of leaving? Yang Yi didn't hesitate to turn around and leave. A breath of time later, he'd arrived at the exit of the secret sect. But right when he was about to leave, the black-robed old man and woman in a white dress appeared in front of him. The black-robed old man looked Yang Yi in the eyes. You have quite the temper, but do you think my secret sect is a place you can come and go at will? Yang Yi shook his head. Old man, you have to realize that it's your secret sect that made me come, and I didn't come here because I wanted to. As for leaving, it's you who asked me to leave. He paused for a moment and continued. Actually, it's pointless to say all of that, because you clearly intend to look for trouble. Since that's the case, then allow me to be honest. The Ing clan and those other clans sent 40 True Realm experts to hunt me down. I'd like to know how many your secret sect has prepared. As soon as he finished speaking, he looked the old man in the eyes. His gaze was extremely calm, but it was filled with aggression. The old man gazed at Yang Yi for a long time before he said, You're very confident. Yang Yi walked over to the old man. Allow me to be honest. Old man, I can fight a few experts like you. Yun Qian's eyelids twitched when she heard him. Yang Yi wasn't someone who likes to show off. All he knew was that one couldn't be too nice. One had to be arrogant when necessary, because if one didn't act arrogantly, others would think you were a weakling and try to bully you. It was like how even if a person was no match for an enemy in battle, So long as that person dared to fight the battle and risked his or her life in the fight, then that enemy wouldn't dare to rashly bully that person anymore. The weak were afraid of the strong were afraid of the ruthless were afraid of those who disregarded their lives, and those who disregarded their lives were afraid of the madman. So, if it was necessary, one had to be more ruthless and madder in life. The old man chuckled. Why don't you give it a try? Xianxia nodded, and then he swung his sword. Bang! An explosion resounded, and the black-robed old man was blasted over 1 kilometer away. He hadn't even stopped himself when Xianxia appeared behind him. Bang! Another explosion resounded, and the old man was blasted over 1 kilometer away again. Just like that, in less than a dozen breaths of time, the old man was pushed back incessantly. He was completely suppressed in battle, and he couldn't even fight back. Yunqian was stunned by this scene. The old man was at the 5th stage of the true realm. However, he couldn't even fight back against Xianxia. Is this Xianxia's strength? Is that terrifying? Xianxia's current strength wasn't sufficient to fight 6th stage true realm experts, but it was enough to fight 5th stage true realm experts. Coupled with the fact that he'd launched a sudden attack and had taken the old man by surprise, that was why such a scene had been created. Around 15 minutes later, Xianxia stopped after blasting the old man back again. He just looked at the old man and said, "Old man, see that? I've only been using one hand until now. Just one hand." Xianxia even waved his left hand on purpose while he spoke. The black-robed old man had an extremely unsightly expression on his face. After all, he couldn't even fight back against a junior. Needless to say, he was truly shocked by Xianxia's strength. At this moment, he understood why the Ying clan's coalition had sent so many experts to pursue Xianxia. This fellow was no ordinary expert. A moment of silence ensued, and then the old man gazed at Xianxia. "I underestimated you." Xianxia chuckled. "It's fine, I don't mind. Old man, I've never intended to become enemies with your secret sect. Since I'm not welcome here, I'm not shameless enough to stay. I'll leave now." He turned around and walked away once he finished speaking. Meanwhile, the black-robed old man suddenly said, "Young brother, I'm sorry if what I said offended you. I hope you don't take it to heart. Right. My secret sect warmly welcomes you." Xianxia stopped and turned to look at the old man. He smiled. "Senior, what are you saying? Do I look like someone who's petty? No. Everyone who knows me is aware that I'm extremely magnanimous." The corners of the old man's mouth twitched slightly. "Magnanimous? I really didn't notice." Meanwhile, Xianxia added, "I was going to leave, but since the secret sect is so welcoming, wouldn't I be disrespectful to the secret sect if I left now? So I can't leave. I have to stay." The black-robed old man and Yunqian really wanted to hit him right now. Just like that, Xianxia stayed behind. He traveled with the old man and Yunqian to the mountain from before. The old man suddenly said, "Actually, this can't be considered to be the secret sect." Xianxia asked, "It's just the outer area?" The old man nodded. "Come, let's head up there." As soon as he finished speaking, his figure soared up into the sky and towards the mountain peak. Xianxia and Yunqian followed closely behind the old man. It didn't take long for them to arrive at the top of the mountain. Xianxia was quite shocked when he arrived here. There were numerous luxurious palaces here. There were quite a few of them, but the main point was that they were extremely huge. Xianxia gazed at the old man. "This is just the outer area of the secret sect?" The old man nodded. "This is where the outer court disciples reside. Come, let me take you to the sect master." He vanished into the distance. Xianxia and Yunqian immediately followed after him. In next to no time, the black-robed old man led them to a teleportation platform, and then they appeared in a gorge. The gorge wasn't very large, and it was surrounded by mountains. There was a palace far in the depths of the gorge. It wasn't very large, but it felt ancient. At the same time, Xianxia sensed numerous concealed auras, and they were extremely powerful. The secret sect isn't ordinary at all. Xianxia glanced at the surroundings and became slightly more vigilant. In next to no time, they entered the palace, but it was empty. The old man said, Wait a moment. The sect master will be here shortly. Xianxia nodded and glanced at the surroundings. It wasn't very large, but the hall was covered in strange symbols. A formation. There was a formation in the hall. Suddenly, a middle-aged man appeared in the hall. Xianxia's expression became extremely solemn when he saw the middle-aged man. The sixth stage of the true realm. Moreover, while the middle-aged man was at the sixth stage of the true realm, just like Xianxia, the middle-aged man's aura was much stronger. It was the secret sect's master, Sumu. Sumu gazed at Xianxia. A long time passed before he nodded slightly. Not bad, not bad. The black-robed old man's expression changed slightly when he heard Sumu. That's a really high evaluation. After all, the sect master of the secret sect had been an extraordinary genius in the past, and he was extremely picky. Not to mention in the outside world, even some of the extraordinary geniuses in the secret sect were below his standards. Yet now, he said Xianxia was not bad. But it was normal, because if even Xianxia was below his standards, then his standards would be absolutely unusual. Meanwhile, Sumu suddenly waved his right hand, and then the wooden sword in Xianxia's grasp flew over to him. There was a wisp of complicated emotions in his eyes as he gazed at the wooden sword. Do you know its origins? Xianxia shook his head in response. Sumu replied, Actually, even I don't know the answer. All I know is that it fell down from the sky. Xianxia was puzzled. It fell down from the sky. Sumu nodded slightly. It fell down with something else. Something else. Xianxia asked, What else? Sumu fell silent for a moment and replied, A head. A head. Xianxia frowned. Can you give me a bit more details? Sumu nodded. Many years ago, something fell from the sky, and it was that head and this sword. The sword was stabbed into the head. In the beginning, the seniors of my secret sect thought the head was dead, but it was actually still alive. It was alive. Xianxia asked, What do you mean? Sumu shook his head slightly. This sword was suppressing the head. In the beginning, it was still able to manage that, but as time passed, the head grew stronger while it weakened. Because during its fight with the head sealed it instead. It was sealed. Xianxia was astounded. So, even its true form can't defeat that head? Sumu replied, You have to realize that it's just a sword. No matter how strong it is, its strength is limited without someone using it. But that head definitely doesn't belong to an ordinary person. Because even 6th-stage true realm experts were practically incapable of fighting back against it, and that was even during the time that it was being suppressed. He paused for a moment and continued. My secret sect intended to ignore the sword and head, but in the end, we had no choice but to deal with it. Because someone from the large universe sent word that my secret sect must help the sword suppress the head. Xianxia asked, Why didn't they come down here themselves? They can't. Sumu continued. There's a difference in strength even between ancient cultivators. For some unknown reason, the strongest amongst them set up powerful barriers around the 3 universes in the Milky Way system. We can't head down to the small universe, and they can't come down to the medium universe. Of course, not everyone is unable to come down here. For example, those ancient cultivators who set up the barrier should be able to come down here. Xianxia nodded. The old man in Taoist robes was probably one of the strongest because he'd come down, and it had even been a clone of his. As for Xiaoqi and the others, it may be because of the primordial pagoda. Meanwhile, Sumu said, Since they wanted us to help this sword suppress the head, it naturally came with benefits. The benefit was that they would use a special method to send down some powerful cultivation techniques and combat techniques every 5 years. He gazed at Xianxia and continued, This can be considered the main reason why my secret sect is so strong. However, later on, we noticed that the head's strength surpassed our imagination. Coupled with the fact that the sword was sealed by it, if our sect master wasn't close friends with the Wu clan's Wu Mu and gained his help, my secret sect may have vanished from the word. Wu Mu. Xianxia hadn't imagined that Wu Mu had actually come here and helped the secret sect. But it did make sense because the sword had been in the Wu clan, so it was definitely linked to the Wu clan. Meanwhile, Sumu continued, However, Even an extraordinary genius like Wu Mu wasn't able to destroy that head. In the end, Wu Mu was only able to join forces with the experts of my secret sect and seal the head. He took the sword with him in the hopes that he could find a powerful sword cultivator to help unseal it. Xianxia spoke in a low voice. My current strength isn't sufficient to unseal the wooden sword. The wooden sword had to absorb powerful sword energy to undo the seal, but his current sword intent wasn't sufficient. Sumu nodded. I noticed. Xianxia's face darkened. This fellow really doesn't have a way with words. Meanwhile, Sumu added, but since it has chosen to follow you, there's definitely something extraordinary about you. Something extraordinary? Xianxia shook his head. It would definitely not follow me if it wasn't for the primordial pagoda and snowy. Right? Xianxia suddenly said, why didn't you try to move the head somewhere else? Why keep it in the secret sect? Sumu laughed bitterly. It's pointless. My secret sect helped this sword seal him, so his hatred towards my secret sect is beyond your imagination. Once he escapes, the first he'll annihilate is my secret sect. True. Xianxia nodded. It hadn't been the secret sect's business, but the secret sect had helped the wooden sword seal the head in order to gain benefits. So, anyone in such a situation would feel resentful. Meanwhile, Sumu said, after so many years, the seal which Wu Mu left behind has started to weaken. It won't be long before the seal vanishes completely. So, I asked Yun Qian to find the wooden sword and bring it back. We have no choice this time, and the wooden sword doesn't have a choice either. We can only fight it to the death. Xianxia glanced at Sumu. If he was being honest, he wanted to flee right now. He didn't want to get involved in the enmity between the secret sect and that head. After all, since it had fallen from the sky, it was obviously not something normal. Actually, there was a person who could kill the head. Sumu spoke softly. Unfortunately, that person refused to do so. Xianxia asked, who? Sumu replied, a sword cultivator. A powerful sword cultivator. A sword cultivator? Xianxia was stunned, and it didn't take long for him to think of a certain person. Who did Xianxia think of? The unfettered one. If it was a powerful sword cultivator, it was naturally the unfettered one. Meanwhile, Sumu added, his attainments in the sword Dao were truly terrifying. I've never seen someone as formidable as him. Xianxia asked, he's called the unfettered one, right? Sumu gazed at Xianxia. You know him? Xianxia nodded. He's from Merak's system, just like me. No wonder. Sumu nodded slightly. He came to my secret sect to challenge our previous sect master. After our sect master lost to him, our sect master asked him to help seal the head. So he went there. Xianxia asked, why didn't he do it? Sumu replied, he only attacked it once. The head spoke arrogantly when he went to see it. The head said he would let the unfettered one hit him 3 times. But the unfettered one only attacked once. That attack almost obliterated the head. Xianxia felt speechless. Sumu continued, unfortunately, he didn't do anything else after that and just left. Xianxia was puzzled. Why? Sumu had quite an unnatural expression on his face. In the end, he shook his head and said, he said that he refuses to bully an incomplete person. Xianxia was stunned speechless. Sumu said, our previous sect master requested his help again, but he ignored our previous sect master's request. He gazed at Xianxia and continued, young brother, this is the wooden sword's origins. This enmity has nothing to do with you, but it is linked to the wooden sword. Since the wooden sword is with you now, you're unable to escape all of this. Xianxia was puzzled. Why? Sumu explained, that head doesn't hate my secret sect the most. He hates this sword the most. Once he escapes, the first thing he destroys may be this sword. But the sword is with you now. So, do you think you'll be able to escape? Unless you abandon this sword, of course. Xianxia fell silent. Sumu walked over to Xianxia. This is how karma works. When you obtain something, its karma coils around you. Just like my secret sect. We allowed the karma of the wooden sword and that head to coil around us in order to obtain the treasures from the large universe. So, My secret sect has to suffer this tribulation. Xianxia said, You're very right. If there's a cause, there's an effect. But senior, your strength far surpasses my own. And your secret sect's overall strength surpasses my strength by countless times. If even you are helpless against that head, then what can I do? I'm not trying to run away from this problem, but I really can't help. Sumu spoke in a low voice. I know. Xianxia was about to speak when Sumu suddenly gazed at him. So, I've decided to use the secret sect's full might to help you improve your strength and unseal this sword. Xianxia was stunned when he heard this. Use the entire secret sect's strength to help me improve my strength? Just to help me unseal the wooden sword? Meanwhile, Sumu added, Don't look at me like that. I'm serious. Xianxia glanced at Sumu. The condition is that I help seal the head? Sumu nodded. Besides that, you have to join the secret sect. Join the secret sect? Xianxia shook his head. Sorry, I belong to the Yang clan. Sumu replied, I know, that isn't a problem. You can hold two identities at once. My secret sect won't stop you. But if my secret sect needs your help in the future, you just have to help within the scope of your ability. Xianxia fell silent for a long time before he nodded. All right, it was a very good thing for him, so he would naturally not refuse it. Sumu nodded slightly and flipped his right hand. A dark green robe appeared in front of Xianxia. Xianxia was puzzled. What's that? Sumu replied. The uniform of an elder in my secret sect. From this moment onward, you're an honorary elder of my secret sect, and no one can give you orders. Xianxia was puzzled. An honorary elder? Why? Meanwhile, the black-robed old man spoke abruptly. It's naturally to help you avoid trouble. If you wear that, the disciples of the secret sect won't look for trouble with you. Of course, we're not afraid that something will happen to you. We're afraid something will happen to them. How terrifying was Xianxia's strength. While the secret sect had numerous geniuses, and all of them were top-rate geniuses, their genius wasn't enough before Xianxia. Besides that, Xianxia wasn't a person who was easy to deal with. So, their solution was to stop others from looking for trouble with him. Xianxia rubbed his nose. Do I look like someone who likes to cause trouble? Normally, he never caused trouble. Meanwhile, Sumu gazed at the old man, and the latter nodded slightly before looking at Xianxia. Young Master Yang, come with me. Xianxia asked, Where are we going? The old man replied, The martial pavilion. Every sect master of my secret sect will leave behind their experience and comprehensions there. They were once the monstrous geniuses of the medium universe. So, I believe that it should be helpful to you. Xianxia nodded. All right. Meanwhile, Sumu suddenly gazed at Yunqian. Yunqian, you go too. Yunqian was slightly stunned, and then she quickly said, Thank you, sect master. Just like that, the black-robed old man left them out of the hall. Meanwhile, in the hall, after Xianxia and the others left, a black shadow suddenly appeared behind Sumu. The black shadow spoke solemnly. Are you really going to place all our hopes on him? Sumu replied with a question. What else can we do? The black shadow asked. Why? Sumu fell silent for a moment and then he said, Because that sword is willing to follow him. It's so proud that even the past sect masters of our secret sect have been unable to subdue it. Even Wu Mu couldn't subdue it. Yet now it's willing to follow someone. Do you think that person is ordinary? The black shadow spoke in a low voice. Just because of that? Sumu shook his head slightly and withdrew a scroll. All the information about him is in it. Take a look. The scroll flew over to the black shadow while he spoke. A long time passed before the black shadow spoke solemnly. He's outstanding. Sumu nodded, and then he looked up at the sky. There was a trace of worry in his eyes, but it didn't take long for the worry in his eyes to be transformed into icy coldness. The martial pavilion. The black-robed old man led them to a pavilion. The pavilion wasn't huge, and it only had 3 levels. Actually, it seemed quite small. This is a forbidden area of my secret sect. The black-robed old man spoke abruptly. Ordinary members of the sect aren't allowed to enter this place. Even I'm not allowed to enter it. Go on in. Yang Yi nodded, and then he entered the first level with Yun Qian. As soon as they walked in, an old man in a luxurious robe appeared before them. Yang Ye's face became solemn when he saw the old man. A sixth-stage True Realm expert. The old man was actually a sixth-stage True Realm expert. The old man sized up Yang Yi and Yun Qian, and then he said, "Mind your actions in here." He vanished on the spot once he finished speaking. Yang Yi and Yun Qian exchanged glances. In the end, they started walking forward. It didn't take long for them to stop. There were 3 pillars of light in front of them, and there was a memorial tablet on each of them. Yun Qian's gaze descended onto the tablet at the center. "I choose this one." Yang Yi asked, "Why?" Yun Qian replied, "Because this sect master is female." Yang Yi gazed at the pillar. Sure enough, there was a name there, Ling Xiu. She was the 14th sect master of my secret sect. Yun Qian spoke solemnly. She attained the 6th stage of the True Realm at the age of 40. At the age of 40, Yang Ye's eyelids twitched. That's absolutely monstrous talent. Meanwhile, Yun Qian walked over to the pillar, and then sat cross-legged on the ground. In an instant, the pillar of light lit up, and then a woman in a cloud-white dress appeared before it. The woman seemed to be around the age of 20. She wasn't drop-dead gorgeous, but she had a dignified aura. After she appeared here, Yang Yi noticed that Yun Qian had become quite nervous. Ling Xiu's gaze descended onto Yun Qian. She sized up Yun Qian, and then she frowned slightly. Yun Qian's countenance instantly turned ghastly pale upon witnessing this scene. A moment of silence ensued, and then Ling Xiu shook her head. "Your natural talent is too low." As soon as she finished speaking, she intended to return to the pillar of light. Meanwhile, Yang Yi suddenly said, "What do you think about my natural talent?" She gazed at Yang Yi. An instant later, she said, "Ordinary." Suddenly, a sword appeared before Ling Xiu's forehead. "How dare you!" Meanwhile, a furious shout resounded. And then the old man from before appeared here. At this moment, the old man in a luxurious robe was glaring angrily at Yang Yi. Yang Yi ignored the old man and looked Ling Xiu in the eyes. "What do you think of this attack?" She looked Yang Yi in the eyes for a few moments, and then she replied, "It's very weak." Yang Yi was at a loss for words. Meanwhile, she added, "But if I was in the same realm of cultivation as you, then I wouldn't be able to resist it." The old man gazed at Ling Xiu when he heard this, and his eyes were filled with shock. He was naturally shocked. After all, Ling Xiu had been a sect master of the secret sect and a peerless genius. Yet now, she said that she was inferior to Yang Yi if they were in the same realm of cultivation. Yang Yi put his sword away and bowed slightly to Ling Xiu. "I apologize for the offense. I have no ill intent towards you. I just want to say that natural talent can't decide a person's future, and we shouldn't judge a person's future based on that person's natural talent." Ling Xiu gazed at Yang Yi for a long time, and then she asked, "You're a disciple of my secret sect?" Yang Yi shook his head slightly. Ling Xiu frowned while bewilderment appeared in her eyes. Meanwhile, the old man suddenly said, "Sect Master Ling. He isn't a disciple of our secret sect. He's an honorary elder of our sect. Because that wooden sword chose to follow him." Ling Xiu gazed at Yang Yi. "Your sword intent has attained the true rank, yet you've chosen to forget it. I presume you've obtained the guidance of an expert. Now, do you want to allow your sword intent to surpass the true rank and attain a higher level? Right, your slaughter intent too." Yang Ye's eyes instantly narrowed when he heard this. Sword intent and slaughter intent above the true rank. When he comprehended true, his sword intent had attained the true rank, and even his slaughter intent could attain the true rank at any moment. However, he'd never used either of them. Moreover, he was even trying to forget them at all times. Because he didn't want the true rank of sword intent or slaughter intent, he pursued the essence of the sword. So, when he thought up to this point, Yang Yi replied, "Senior, I want to pursue the essence of the sword." "How pedantic!" Ling Xiu spoke coldly. "How foolish! Why do you possess sword intent?" "Because of the sword." You only have sword intent because of the sword. So, sword intent and the sword are one. Is there even a difference between them? Yang Yi was stunned on the spot. Right? Sword intent is formed from the sword, so they are one. Can't be considered to be an external force. Once he thought up to this point, Yang Yi cursed himself for being foolish. After all, his attainments in the sword Dao were formidable. If his sword intent rose a level higher, then his attacks wouldn't just be able to pose a threat to 5th stage True Realm experts, it would even be a threat to 6th stage True Realm experts. Yang Yi wasn't able to stay calm once he thought of this. Meanwhile, Ling Xiu said, "Are you tempted?" He gazed at her and replied, "Senior, we're all straightforward people here. So, tell me what you want." She nodded slightly. "It's nothing special. I just hope that you'll protect my secret sect in the future." Yang Yi glanced at her. "Are your feelings for the secret sect that deep?" Amongst the 6th stage True Realm experts he knew, most of them cared about nothing but their own life and death. Ling Xiu nodded slightly. "This isn't just a sect, it's my home." She glanced at the other pillars. "Do you know how they died?" Yang Yi shook his head. She explained, "Actually, it's very difficult for experts at their level to die. Even some cultivators would find it difficult to kill them. However, they've still perished. It wasn't because someone killed them. It's because they took their own lives." Yang Yi frowned while a puzzled expression filled his eyes. "They took their own lives?" Ling Xiu nodded slightly. "Every single time the seal loosens, the experts of my secret sect will use the strength they accumulated throughout their life to fortify the seal." A wisp of surprise flashed through Yang Ye's eyes. "Isn't that a little too selfless?" Ling Xiu asked, "Are you very surprised?" Yang Yi nodded. "Extremely." She spoke softly. "Once the seal is broken, my secret sect will definitely be annihilated." Yang Yi spoke in a low voice. "I dare not guarantee that I'll be able to deal with him." She nodded. "But you have a chance." Yang Yi was puzzled. "Why?" Ling Xiu looked him in the eyes. "Because that sword chose you." Yang Ye's face stiffened. It didn't take long for him to shake his head. Actually, he wanted to say that it wasn't following him, and it was with Snowy, so Snowy should go seal the head. Meanwhile, Ling Xiu spoke abruptly. "Do you know what lies above the true rank of intent or the true realm of cultivation?" Yang Yi restrained his thoughts and gazed at her. "Please do tell," she replied softly. "After the zenith is truth, and after truth, it's enlightenment." Yang Yi was puzzled. "Enlightenment?" Ling Xiu nodded. "The heart is clear like a mirror that can see through all things. The true realm is one where the essence of all things is understood, and the enlightened realm doesn't just cover the understanding of the essence of all things, it represents seeing through all things. They are very similar concepts, but there are differences. Just like water and ice. They are similar, but different." Yang Yi spoke solemnly. "How do I attain it?" She shook her head slightly. "There are no shortcuts. You can only observe and comprehend." "Observe and comprehend?" Yang Yi gazed at her. "I know how to comprehend, but how should I observe?" Ling Xiu replied. "I attained the enlightened rank in the past and I left behind images. You can observe those." Yang Yi was astounded. "You were at the enlightened rank?" She shook her head. "Only in intent and not cultivation. So, perhaps I can help your sword intent and slaughter intent attain the enlightened rank. Of course, I dare not guarantee it. All of this depends on a person's fortune." Yang Yi nodded. "Thank you." Meanwhile, Ling Xiu gazed at Yun Qian. "Join him." Yun Qian had astonishment written all over her face. Ling Xiu explained. "He's right. I shouldn't judge a person based on natural talent and potential. Since you're here and have made your choice, then there's fate between us. So, what you obtain depends on your own fortune." Yun Qian quickly bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Sect Master Ling." She gazed at Yang Yi and continued, "Thank you." She knew that if Yang Yi hadn't said all of that, Ling Xiu wouldn't have accepted her. Yang Yi smiled and didn't say anything. As far as he was concerned, he'd only lifted a finger. Meanwhile, Ling Xiu suddenly waved her hand. In an instant, the scene around them changed. and then they appeared in a pitch-black room. There was a woman seated cross-legged in the room. It was Ling Xiu. Comprehend. Ling Xiu was comprehending right now. Yang Yi and Yun Qian exchanged glances. Suddenly, their expressions changed because they noticed that some sort of link had formed between them and Ling Xiu. It only took a moment for them to realize that they were actually able to sense everything that Ling Xiu was sensing. It's a type of inheritance technique. Suddenly, Ling Xiu's voice resounded in their minds. It allows people to form a type of spiritual bridge between them, so they're able to sense everything about each other for a short while. It only lasts for 2 hours. What you obtain depends on your own fortune. The voice vanished after speaking those words. Yang Yi immediately closed his eyes and immersed his mind into it. In next to no time, he sensed himself merging into one with Ling Xiu. Could be said that so long as he willed it, he could find out everything about Ling Xiu, including all her secrets. However, he didn't do that. One had to know one's limits. Yang Yi restrained his thoughts and focused on sensing what Ling Xiu was sensing. At the first level of the pavilion, there was a screen of light before Ling Xiu and the old man in a luxurious robe. Yang Yi, Yun Qian, and the past Ling Xiu were displayed on the screen. The old man suddenly asked, "Sect Master Ling, can he save our secret sect?" She shook her head. "He can't." The old man was astounded. Then, she gazed at Yang Yi through the screen and spoke softly. That head dropped down from the large universe. It was heavily injured when it arrived, but the various experts of our secret sect and even Wu Mu weren't able to kill him. So, it's obvious that the head definitely belonged to one of the earliest ancient cultivators. She paused for a moment and continued, "But Yang Yi is just at the true realm, so how can he deal with that head?" The old man asked. "Then why are you and Sect Master Su Mu helping him?" She gazed at Yang Yi for a long time before she replied softly, "Who said we're helping him?" The old man fell silent. A long time passed before the old man laughed bitterly. "Actually, there was a person who could kill that head. Unfortunately." Ling Xiu spoke softly. "The unfettered one?" The old man nodded. "What do you think about him?" She fell silent for a long time before she replied, "Unprecedented attainments in the sword, and a figure unrivaled through history." In the room, Yang Yi and Yun Qian were still seated cross-legged, and they were still comprehending. Actually, it was more precise to say that they were sensing what Ling Xiu sensed when she comprehended her intent all those years ago. Now, Ling Xiu was using a technique to pass her experience to them. It was naturally extremely beneficial to Yang Yi and Yun Qian, because it allowed them to avoid straying off the right path. The reason the disciples of clans and sects were able to grow much faster than independent cultivators was because they rarely strayed off the right path. It was because they had the guidance of others when they took the path of cultivation. Just like that, time trickled by, and it didn't take long for 2 hours to pass. At this moment, Yang Yi and Yun Qian had returned to the pavilion. However, they were still seated cross-legged and hadn't opened their eyes. Ling Xiu glanced at them and said, "Don't disturb them." She entered the pillar of light once she finished speaking. Around 15 minutes later, Yang Yi vanished on the spot. In the primordial pagoda, Yang Yi naturally intended to cultivate in the primordial pagoda. After all, 10 days in the pagoda was just 1 day in the outside world. Of course, he didn't let his guard down. Xianxia was ready to fight at any moment, and he would attack if he noticed even the slightest suspicious movement. Xianxia's strength was even sufficient to resist a 6th-stage true realm expert for some time. While the old man in a luxurious robe was surprised that Yang Yi had vanished, he didn't do anything. Everyone had their own secrets, and Yang Yi naturally had some. Just like that, time trickled by. It didn't take long for a month to pass in the outside world. At this moment, Yun Qian had opened her eyes. There was a trace of delight in them. Even though her cultivation hadn't improved, her mental state had improved tremendously. Such improvement was superior to years of bitter cultivation. Suddenly, Yang Yi appeared by her side. Yang Yi had opened his eyes as well. Yun Qian was stunned when she saw Yang Yi. What happened to you?" At this moment, Yang Yi didn't look quite the same. His hair was actually slightly white, It seemed like his head was covered in snow. His hair wasn't the only thing that had changed. His face had aged quite a bit. If he seemed like he was over 20 before, he looked around 40 now. Maturity. At this moment, Yang Yi seemed like he'd matured tremendously. Suddenly, Ling Xiu appeared before Yang Yi and Yun Qian. Ling Xiu gazed at Yang Yi. How did it go? Yang Yi looked down at his hand, and then he slowly stretched it out before waving it lightly. Bang! Yun Qian watched with astonishment as the space throughout the pavilion actually started trembling. It seemed like boiling water that was surging violently. However, she couldn't sense any fluctuations of energy. Meanwhile, Ling Xiu spoke softly. Enlightened rank sword intent. It's not within the 5 elements, not in the heavens and the earth, completely untraceable, and can merge into all things. Congratulations! Yun Qian's mouth opened wide with shock when she heard Ling Xiu. Enlightened rank sword intent. Yang Yi had actually attained enlightened rank sword intent in such a short while. Actually, it hadn't been a short while. It had been 30 days in the outside world, so 300 days had passed in the primordial pagoda. 300 days was almost a year. Besides comprehending, Yang Yi had been exploring throughout the year. He was slowly exploring and pondering. Only he understood how dull and miserable he had been. There was a point in time within the primordial pagoda that his mind had gone black. That had been the most painful period for him, because he'd become lost. In the end, he even felt like giving up. That feeling that his head was filled with lead was truly too painful. Fortunately, he didn't give up. After comprehending bitterly, he finally improved his sword intent to the enlightened rank. Moreover, his sword intent wasn't the only intent that had improved. His slaughter intent had attained the enlightened rank too. The biggest difference between the enlightened rank and true rank was that the enlightened rank wasn't within the 5 elements, not in the heavens and the earth, untraceable and could merge into all things. The enlightened rank contained the truth as well. It contained the essence of the sword and all things, and it was an improvement on the foundation created by the true rank. It was like mist transformed into water, and then the water was transformed into ice. So, the enlightened rank didn't overturn the true rank, it built upon the true rank. Could be said that he didn't fear 6th-stage true realm experts anymore. Of course, it still wasn't that easy to kill them in single combat. However, he wouldn't be completely suppressed in battle with them anymore. Yang Yi restrained his thoughts and gazed at Ling Xiu. Thank you. If it wasn't for her guidance and experience, even he didn't know how long it would have taken him to attain the enlightened rank. No matter what her objective was, she had helped him. It's your own fortune, she continued. Your strength has definitely risen tremendously along with the improvement of your 2 intents. But remember not to underestimate anyone, especially some 6th-stage true realm experts. Yang Yi nodded. I understand. I won't underestimate anyone. Underestimating one's opponent was the most lethal mistake one could make. Many people hadn't died at his hands because their strengths were inferior to him. They died because they'd underestimated him. Never underestimate anyone. Suddenly, Ling Xiu said, Can I see the wooden sword? Yang Yi glanced at her and nodded. He flipped his palm, and then Snowy appeared on his palm while holding the wooden sword in her arms. A sprite lord. Ling Xiu's gaze shot to Snowy. Snowy looked up at Ling Xiu and cracked a smile in response. Ling Xiu grinned and gazed at Yang Yi. What a lucky fellow. But I don't understand something. This little fellow should be fond of pure and kind people. But if I'm to be honest, you're not pure or kind at all. Yang Ye's face darkened. Does she know how to speak? Meanwhile, Snowy suddenly released the wooden sword and wrapped her arms around Yang Ye's neck. After that, she rubbed her head gently against Yang Ye's chin, as if she was saying that she likes him just the way he was. Yang Ye's heart felt warm. He rubbed Snowy's little head and spoke softly, I love you too. Meanwhile, Ling Xiu waved her right hand, and the wooden sword flew over to her. A moment of silence ensued before she gazed at Yang Yi and Snowy. Kid, tell me the truth. Is this sword following you or this little fellow? Yang Ye's face stiffened, but it didn't take long for it to return to normal. He gazed at her and asked, Senior, Why do you ask? She replied, this sword is pure and kind, and it likes pure and kind people, demons or sprites. That little fellow of yours just happens to conform to that. But you don't. Moreover, it should really reject you. Yang Yi didn't say anything and just waved his left hand. The wooden sword immediately flew into his grasp, and then he waved it slightly. A sword howl instantly resounded. Yang Yi gazed at Ling Xiu. Senior, do you think it rejects me? Actually, the wooden sword did reject him. However, after what happened previously, it had restrained itself tremendously. At the very least, it wouldn't act rashly and willfully as it did in the past. The primordial pagoda had to be given credit for that. Ling Xiu gazed at Yang Yi for a long time, and then she nodded lightly. That isn't important. The important point is that your strength has improved. I hope you'll remember your promise to me. Yang Yi nodded. Of course. Actually, it was just as Sumu had said. After he obtained the wooden sword, the karma of the wooden sword had coiled onto him. Ling Xiu nodded slightly. The experience of the other sect masters of my secret sect and some powerful techniques are within her. Are you interested in them? Of course I am. Yang Yi hurriedly nodded. What a joke. How could he not be interested in something like that? She said, it's better to focus than spread your attention on many. The sword technique you created is extremely powerful, and it really suits you. While the techniques of many sect masters aren't inferior to yours, most of them are suitable to themselves and not suitable for you. She paused for a moment and continued, head to the 3rd level. There's something suitable for you there. As soon as she finished speaking, she intended to enter the pillar of light. Yang Yi suddenly asked, may I know if you're still alive? She turned to look at him. I died a long time ago. This is a strand of soul that I left behind. It's to pass down my inheritance to the next generation. This may be the last time I show myself. Of course, I hope this is the last time. Yang Yi asked, why? She fell silent for a moment and replied, because if I show myself again, it represents that. She shook her head and vanished on the spot. Yang Yi glanced at the pillar of light. Based on her tone, Yang Yi realized that something major may be about to happen in the secret sect. Meanwhile, Yun Qian suddenly asked, how did you attain the enlightened rank? Yang Yi gazed at her. Miss Yun, my natural talent isn't great. I just spent more time on it than you did. Go comprehend it well, and you'll succeed too. He went towards the 3rd level once he finished speaking. Was his natural talent greater than her? No. His natural talent wasn't good at all. Because he'd spend 10 times the time Yun Qian had spent on comprehending everything they gained from Ling Xiu. Even though his natural talent wasn't the best, his willpower was absolutely superior to Yun Qian. Or it should be said that his willpower was superior to many. Persistence, hard work, and never giving up. That was the secret to his success. Yun Qian lowered her head slightly and remained silent. A long time passed before she turned around and left the hall. It didn't take long for Yang Yi to arrive at the 3rd level under the old man in a luxurious robe's lead. The old man stopped abruptly and said, Young Master Yang, this is a forbidden area of my secret sect, and it's the place where the ancestor of my secret sect sleeps. So, please mind your actions. He hadn't forgotten how Yang Yi had pointed his sword at Ling Xiu. Yang Yi smiled embarrassedly. I will. The old man glanced at him and nodded. Please go in. Yang Yi asked, you're not coming? The old man shook his head. I can't. Yang Yi asked, why? The old man gazed at the door and said, because the person in there once said that he shouldn't be disturbed. Yang Yi asked, then why can I go in? The old man laughed bitterly. Because Sect Master Ling asked you to. I dare not disobey her orders. Yang Yi was at a loss for words. The old man said, go on. Yang Yi glanced at the old man and said, is it safe? The old man hesitated for a moment and replied, I think so. Yang Yi asked, can you be sure? The old man shook his head. That person's temper is a little strange. The corners of Yang Ye's mouth twitched. He didn't say another word and just entered through the door. The old man took a deep breath when he saw Yang Yi enter, and he said, "I'll pray for you." As soon as Yang Yi entered through the door, Yang Yi noticed that there was only a single pillar of light in here, and it was more than double the size of the pillar of light which Ling Xiu emerged from. Yang Yi glanced at the surroundings. In the end, his gaze descended onto the pillar of light and spoke softly, "Hey, is anyone here?" He received no reply. Yang Yi walked over to the pillar of light and gazed at the bottom of it. There was a name there, Lin Weiyang. Lin Weiyang. Yang Yi sized up the pillar. Suddenly, a hand grabbed his throat. A suffocating feeling enveloped Yang Yi. A moment later, the hand lifted Yang Yi up. At the same time, a voice resounded, "Who allowed you in?" Crack. Yang Yi was about to speak when the sound of bones cracking resounded.